So, welcome to part 2 of the Minds of the Future. My name is Anna Sjöström-Douagy, and I am the host of this roundtable discussion between young, brilliant minds in science and Professor Sir David MacMillan, a Nobel laureate in chemistry 2021. And this is taking place at the Nobel Prize Museum during the Nobel Week 2022. So, a tool that is central for communication between youth and spreading information on different topics is the internet. The internet has been central for organizing youth, like the climate demonstrations organized by Friday for Future. And in the report from UNICEF, 61% of young people reported using the internet for learning and information, but 75% reported facing barriers to accessing the internet. So, I would like to start with a first question on how important has access to the internet been for your studies and projects? I'm looking at maybe Hector?
Sure.
Yeah?
That's an interesting question, and specifically for today's generation. Just talking about the internet and overall media connectivity, I've spent over the last year and a half connected to a computer, right? Taking classes due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And it's just another reminder of the importance of just media connectivity in today's society. If it wasn't for the internet, my education right now would be completely compromised, right? It'd be hard to continue advancing through, just your regular levels of high school. And outside of formal education, my entire research revolves around media connectivity. So it's just this entire process of having a connection between different assets of a community, between teachers, students, and many other aspects of day-to-day life that is really important. So it's not a matter of if the internet or just social media, technology in general is important to my work. My work revolves around internet connectivity, and I think that's something that we can say about a lot of fields in today's society.
So really central. Do you want to add something there, Rasmi?
Yeah, sure. Definitely piggyback of what Hector just said. The internet was such a big part of my life, and it has been. I use it every day. Even for my project, I feel like it's such a central component. Just to give a little bit of background, I've been working on assistive tech and helping kids. And one thing that I was doing on the project that got me here actually was building a therapy product for children with cortical visual impairment, or CVI. Essentially, that's a neurologically based vision disorder, which makes their vision kind of look like Swiss cheese, where they have little pockets of things that they can see. And it's super prevalent. So one thing I was working towards was building a web application for that revolutionizes state-of-the-art therapy techniques. Right now, therapy is really hard to access, especially in rural areas. With young kids, it can be really hard to get them places. And it also places a lot of emphasis on the parents and guardians right now. So I was working towards building a digitized version of that, adding on new features, implementing AI and machine learning techniques for that. And all those components come together using the internet. So they reach their end user using Wi-Fi and connections. And I feel like the internet has the ability to make such a difference. And I really saw that through this project.
Digital solutions are really, as you say, about accessibility. And we have seen that, like, as you said, about online classes, and actually for education, that was key for education and for many, both PhD students and high school students. Without the internet, there would have been no education at all during the pandemic, which is very crucial. And you can also see it like in healthcare, where you have these online physicians, where you actually go to your doctor by internet. But where do you see trends going in the future, and what is happening with the digital solutions in the future? I'm looking at you, Bertram. Maybe you would like to explore a little bit on this.
Yeah, I think personally for me, I'm obviously doing computer science within cybersecurity. So my concern isn't as much accessibility as it probably is for some other people, because I'm sure they will be amazing at handling that problem and those challenges. When I see the current state of the internet, I get a little bit worried sometimes. Not because the internet itself is bad in nature, because it's not. It's amazing. it has become a central part of our democracy. You mentioned the Friday for Future activists who have been using it as a central tool to organize and protest. That obviously is going to upset the status quo and therefore make a lot of, unfortunately, rather powerful people rather, I was about to say uncomfortable. And therefore the internet is a place that is currently quite under a threat, not from necessarily cyber attacks or other people from the criminal world, but from our own governments and regulatory bodies who has shown to have an interest through the Snowden leaks, the Assange leaks, bills like the UNICEF from the US and stuff like that, to try and lock down the internet, to try and keep the strong encryption that we know works to protect human rights and to protect our privacy, to try and lock that away from us and basically make math illegal. That is really unfortunate, and I think that is a fight that we have to fight over the coming decades, because we're going to see more of that. We already see way too much of it, and we're going to see more censorship, not just from China and from a lot of oppressive regimes, but also from the very democracies that we are part of, and we have to be able to tackle that.
Do you see that we will have not only one internet in the future, but several different versions, or there are already there?
That is a really interesting concept, actually, because it's something that has become increasingly relevant over the past few decades. Originally, the concept of the internet was this giant interconnected net of information, which obviously was global. But as we have seen people try to censor this and try to lock it down, what we have seen is countries like Iran and especially China and India and those try to have control over all the edge routers in the network, so they control all the information flowing in and out of the countries, and therefore not creating a central internet that is global, truly global, but creating their own communities within these countries to try and lock and spread lock down the spread of information, and that is problematic. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, especially in the oppressive regimes, but probably also in some democracies, and that is problematic also for science, because it obviously locks down sharing and exchanging information and studies.
It seems like we have many challenges in front of us, and many things regarding both internet and accessibility, security, and democracy. Many levels in this, not only concerning the STEM areas, but actually the society in whole. Would you like to add something into this discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find in regard, even, coming from a country with excellent internet access, and I'm very lucky to go to a very good university where my research, I have a lot of journals that are open to me, a lot of ongoing subscriptions. But I understand that a lot of people that are researching, or students that are just trying to learn to begin with for research projects, literature reviews, anything like that, they don't always necessarily have access to these journals that can be hid behind a paywall, essentially. And it's the same with software and stuff like that as well. So I think what we really need to push for in this kind of next generation of scientists is pushing towards open source platforms, open source publishing. We have all this knowledge, but the knowledge is no good to us if we can't share it with everyone. Because right now there's more scientific publications coming out than ever before. There's more people doing science, which is terrific. There's more people than ever before doing science. But if you can't get access to that information and everyone can't be on the same page, then, it's really not all worth it. We need to push for open source, I find.
Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you about that, David, because that's a very important point about open access and scientific publications. As you all know, and the science is being made in labs, but it's very important to publish it in order to get the word out, to get other scientists to know about it, and also to get the world to know about it. So what would you say about open access and the availability and the amount of information there are out? How do you work with that?
That's a really very good point. Open source. In fact, I was founding editor of a journal in chemistry. It's called Chemical Science, which is now 100% open source, and it's available to everyone around the world. And that's, in my opinion, the way it should be. if you think, I mean, I'm old enough to remember what libraries really were back in the old days. You guys are too young. But libraries were places where you could be of any socioeconomic background and walk into a library, get a membership, and read anything you wanted to read, because that was the whole concept, was to spread knowledge for free. And you're exactly right. Whenever journals in any subject area then put these things behind a paywall, you're effectively amplifying a discrimination between the people who have resources and the people who do not. And there has to be a way forward for all information or ways of education that become accessible to more people. And beyond open source journals, I actually would argue that education, the way we educate people at universities, should become open source in a way that it actually impacts a lot more people than just the people who are privileged enough to be accepted in any given research, any given university college program. That has to become a broader concept as well. I think we're moving slowly towards that, but it's completely right. The publication world is one where open source has to become the norm and not the exception.
So, Hector, you want me?
Yeah, I think this ties back into just digital trends in general, right? I mean, we're raising the bar, increasing accessibility to research science overall. So at least in healthcare, the way I see it, we have internet connectivity. We have this communication technology that is essentially closing the gap, right? At least in healthcare in Mexico, we have an increasingly big surplus of patients that are overflowing the public healthcare system. And it's challenging. It's a problem to tackle for sure, right? Because we're lacking physicians, we're lacking the right amount of resources that we need to tackle these patients. I mean, it's in their human rights to have quality healthcare. So what can we do with the resources we have to basically augment their treatment, right? The project I'm working on, it's all about preventing drug resistance, among many other medical complications, through patient-physician communication. So I'm mentioning this because I think it ties into how we can take advantage of our resources to essentially augment this accessibility, right? To essentially see technology grow and to use this amazing resource that we have in the internet to essentially improve communities.
Yeah, that's very important. And also that leads into the last topic of this question, that also talking about medical information, and that then you come to secure data handling. So both, maybe Bertram is also into this topic, but there is so much information out on the internet that we need to really take care of and be aware of. And so we have both the secure data handling, but also then to enable a secure internet connection. I don't know. Yeah, ask me. Maybe you want to start.
Yeah, that's a critical piece of my project. I'm working with a lot of kids' medical data, physician data, and going off of what you said, seamlessly having those connections. I feel like telemedicine is becoming such a desirable option nowadays, that building a better system, that's what I'm trying to do. Building a better system of communication online is really important. But with that comes securing medical info. And before deploying my product, and as I'm working towards that, that's a really important question that I have to think about. It's still something I'm working on tackling. So I'd love to hear about potential things that we could do for that.
Do you want to comment anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that this is also an area where we already have the tools to solve the challenges. The tools have been known for the last 20 years. They are robust and battle-tested to such degree that every time you go online, anywhere, your connection is nearly always made using what is called military-grade encryption. We already have the tools. We just have to have, just like with climate change, we have to have regulatory pressure to push firms and organizations to use these tools to properly secure user data. Unfortunately, we see large countries like the US moving in the opposite direction, making it harder for private companies to properly secure data because they have an interest in that being open. But we have to use these tools because they are available and they're efficient.
How do you think this pressure can be made? Like, can the youth be important here?
I think I think so. I don't think it's never gonna be as big as the climate debate, but I think it bears many similarities. It should be. I don't like to call it a human right because I think that is the bare minimum of what we need to survive. But I think it should be something we should be actively seeking. It's something that when they take away rights from us, the right to properly secure our own data, we should go out and, in the best case, protest in the same way that we see Fridays for Futures do it.
Yeah. David, did secure data handling, is that something you think about when you have scientific information or discussions, or is that a concern in your?
In my world, quite frankly, no. I mean, I would love to think that our information was so important that people were constantly trying to get it, but I don't think they really are. But at the same time, listening to these sort of comments around the table, I mean, it's clear that there are these basically ways that are potentially in place to think about this problem, especially with understanding and thinking about your medical information. And the fact that there are countries and larger components which are not taking that on board, I fully agree. One of the things that I'll tell you, and I don't know, I'm sure you hear this from other people, but one of the things that I love most right now, being at my age, is watching so many younger people be activists about things they care about. And I feel a much stronger sort of sense of purpose and determination around many issues, maybe because they're so important, than necessarily I would have even found in my own generation for sure. And I really think it is important to maintain that, to keep that sense of we are going to do what's best for our world. And because your world is your world, and then you will hand it off to the next world too. And I think you all understand that. And I really do believe that sense of determination and purpose is important. So yeah, definitely retain that.
Thank you so much. And I think especially for your generation and for you who are watching the digital world we are living in is really a part of I would not say your DNA, because that sounds a little bit scary, but it's a world you have been living in all of your lives, and that is something the baton you have to run and take forward to make as you say, the best world we want to live in. So the internet access, the internet availability is a core for all topics I hear from you, all dimensions in society, both in science, in life, and also it's important for the future of democracy that we are handling this in the right way. So I think we came with many important discussions during this topic, and also the right to data and open access of scientific information. So really important things. So I would like to thank all of you for contributing to a better and brighter future through science. And to our viewers, you can continue this conversation on how to make our future more sustainable and brighter by downloading our free of use appendix on the website to bring to your classroom, science club, or family and friends dinner. Thank you so much.